Welcome to This Day Devo. My name is Pastor Guy. It's good to have you here today as we begin the book of Luke. And today we read verses 1 through 38 in the first chapter. And you get this introduction to what Luke's purposes are, to the kind of writing that you're going to experience. And since you've been reading through the Gospels every single day this year, you, I'm sure, are starting to pick up different literary styles, different approaches to how Jesus' story is given out. And so, for example, all of the Gospels are written to a specific audience in a way where Matthew was writing with, we began Matthew with a long list of genealogy because he wanted to show that Jesus fell in the line of David. And then we began Mark. Mark is quick and to the point. He's like, all right, let's hit this. Let's go. Here's why I'm here. I want to tell you the story about Jesus. And we jump right in. So there's no story of Jesus' birth. There's not a lot of backstory. It's just like, here's what he did. Here's why he came. Here's what it is for you. And here with the book of Luke, we get an introduction that goes all the way back to Elizabeth and Zechariah conceiving John the Baptist and the story of how that came to be. And we get the most in-depth version of Jesus' birth. In the book of Mark and the book of John, neither one has really anything about Jesus' birth. So whenever you go to a Christmas play about the story of Jesus, you'll notice that most of that's coming from Luke and some of it's coming from Matthew. What was Luke doing here? You see, Matthew was an eyewitness account. He walked with Jesus. John was an eyewitness account. He walked with Jesus. Mark was kind of an eyewitness account because he's relaying, more than likely, Peter's story of walking with Jesus. Well, Luke didn't walk with Jesus. He wasn't one of the disciples. He was a doctor. He was a historian. He was a man who knew what was happening around the culture and the time. And as an incredible researcher and an incredible writer, what he did was investigative reporting. While the early church was growing, kind of probably like near the end of the book of Acts, during Paul's ministry, one of the things Luke was doing is he's formulating these stories. He's compiling the story of Jesus' life and the beginning of the church, and he's writing that down in a beautiful way for us that lays it out in a sequential pattern. And so that's one of the things that you'll notice, and you may have already picked up on, is that when you read the book of Luke, you're getting, it reads the smoothest, it reads the most like an author who is essentially omniscient about the events of what's going on, and he's helps you to place yourself into the story as it's happening. And the reason you're able to do that is because he's done such amazing, careful investigation about what was going on in the very details of who was rolling where the city was located. He knows everything, and he wants you to know that, because it's as if Luke is saying, I've done my research, and if you don't believe this historically, go ahead and look into it yourself. So that's what he's doing along this way, and all of this so that Theophilus, and by way of Theophilus, us as well, we can be certain of everything that we've been taught about Jesus, everything we've read, everything we've heard. And so Luke is beginning with this introduction as saying, I'm writing this to my friend Theophilus. And you'll notice that Luke's the only gospel writer to have a quote-unquote sequel. And what I mean by sequel is, we'll get there in a little while. If you read the very beginning of the book of Acts, says, in my first book, I told you, Theophilus, everything that Jesus began to do and teach, ... until he was resurrected and ascended into heaven. So Luke and Acts go together as one story, and all of this coming out of the heart and the mind and the gifts of a man named Luke. And what you'll see is who he's writing to. In many ways, he's writing to what would become the larger Western culture. And what I mean by that is he's writing towards to people who would have kind of a Greek kind of like a Greek mindset of, in that culture, like a drive towards excellence, and that's towards excellence, and that's something that we see in America. That's something that we live in America, a culture that's very, very much influenced by Greek culture, and people like Aristotle and Socrates and their pursuit of excellence. And he is relaying that to us into our context as non-Jewish people, as Gentiles with Greek and Roman influence, and saying, on your pursuit of excellence, I want you to stop and pause and recognize that it's that Jesus and the person of Jesus and the work of Jesus is the picture of excellence. He was the perfect man who lived. He was the perfect sacrifice, laid down his life for us. And so he's pointing us towards Jesus, and he's doing it in this perfect and beautiful work where we get to say, wow, I see what he's done. I see where he's going. I see what he's doing. And I'm so excited to be a part of that. So I'm looking forward to the book of Luke, and I hope you are as well. Thanks for being here. How do you answer that question? Today I learned this about Jesus, and on this day I will this. Have yourself an awesome day.
Every word sent down from heaven has the power of Christ.